freedom is killed off by people claiming that the greater good or the general will or the betterment of the community requires speech patrol.
Rush Limbaugh called himself America's anchorman and a doctor of democracy. He was a conservative on-air personality whose bombastic presence made his radio show one of the most popular in history.
He said a number of things that people didn't say on the airwaves, but might have said in the dark of night in the privacy of their homes. And what was refreshing to his audience was the idea that someone was saying these things out loud.
The Rush Limbaugh Show became nationally syndicated in 1988 and is often credited with saving AM radio and leading Republican politics into a new era.
Talk is cheap, and that's what Rush Limbaugh really brings to the airwaves. A 3-hour talk radio program in which it's basically him talking into a microphone.
Limbaugh was known for his controversial statements, be them about politics, women, or minorities. His relentless bashing of liberals helped shape a generation of conservative politicians.
I think Rush is a once-in-a-generation phenomenon. It's a combination of smarts, personality, and extremism.
You've also been called arrogant and pompous.
Well, I call it confidence.
And you can certainly argue with the things he said as to whether you agree with them or whether they were proper for public consumption.
He once said Michael J. Fox was exaggerating his Parkinson's disease.
He is moving all around and shaking, and it's purely an act.
He pushed the baseless birther conspiracy theory about Barack Obama. He made race-related comments about then Philadelphia Eagles quarterback Donovan McNabb.
I'm sorry to say this, I don't think he's been that good from the get-go. I think what we've had here is a little social concern in the NFL. I think the media has been very desirous that a black quarterback do well.
Which ultimately forced Limbaugh's resignation as a commentator on ESPN's Sunday NFL Countdown. In 2015, Limbaugh attacked Georgetown University law student Sandra Fluke. Congressional Democrats had invited her to speak in support of contraceptive coverage mandates for health insurance companies.
Without insurance coverage, contraception, as you know, can cost a woman over $3,000 during law school. For a lot of students who, like me, are on public interest scholarships, that's practically an entire summer's salary.
Limbaugh degraded her on his show.
It makes her a slut, right? Makes her a prostitute. She wants to be paid to have sex.
Republicans and Democrats condemned his comments.
All decent folks can agree that the remarks that were made don't have any place in the public discourse.
And he was dropped by some of his advertisers. Limbaugh later apologized, but maintained that he was unfairly criticized.
The apology to her over the weekend was sincere.
The audience never really abandoned him. I'm sure some disapproved, but most thought that was part of the Rush Limbaugh shtick.
Limbaugh had notable influence in the Republican Party. His millions of listeners were mostly conservative. Before Trump's presidency, Limbaugh was known for holding conservative elected officials to hard lines on issues such as immigration, government spending, and denial of global warming. Despite not initially endorsing Trump in the 2016 primary, he later fully embraced him as the future of the Republican Party.
We are all in for President Trump because he is all in for us.
Trump surprised Limbaugh at his 2020 State of the Union address and awarded him the Medal of Freedom, the highest civilian honor.
In recognition of all that you have done for our nation, the millions of people a day that you speak to and that you inspire, and all of the incredible work that you have done for charity, I am proud to announce tonight that you will be receiving our country's highest civilian honor, the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
This came days after Limbaugh announced his stage 4 lung cancer diagnosis. Lung cancer wasn't Limbaugh's first health-related battle. In 2001, he went deaf from an autoimmune disease, and for months, he continued on air with the help of his staff and a teleprompter. He ultimately received a cochlear implant.
I'm 100% deaf, and I can only hear bionically with these.
Limbaugh also had bouts of addiction to pain medication and later went to rehab. He told his listeners about his lung cancer in February 2020.
But the upshot is that I have been diagnosed with advanced lung cancer.
He had signed a 4-year extension of his radio show just a month earlier.
He will be remembered as a giant of his field, as the man who saved an entire medium. And people will argue over his legacy, over his politics certainly, but there's no denying that his personality was something that few people could project on the air and attract an audience as large as the one he did.